Everyone's been wondering, how much Bitcoin does America hold in its strategic Bitcoin reserve? And further, how serious is America with their plans about Bitcoin? Well, the president's son, Eric Trump, took to the main stage yesterday at Bitcoin 2026 Las Vegas and gave us some huge answers to all of these questions. In my opinion, you can say what you want about the Trump family in general, and even further, their interest in Bitcoin. But it really does feel like these clips I gathered for you guys are definitely shifting the Overton window. This first one I'm about to play for you guys is, honestly, this might be the most bullish clip coming out of Bitcoin 2026. And then I have you another screen grab from a more behind the scenes for the VIP speakers and conference goers. And this one is also extremely bullish, which is reiterating what we heard last week from the 4-star admiral. So let's start with the first one. There's a lot to unpack on this first clip. Here it is from the main stage.
Well, let me hop in here, guys. The compression of Bitcoin is unbelievable. I think I was the first guy on a stage like this wearing a suit, maybe in this industry, and that was about 3 years ago, advocating for this industry. And now every single day you see what they're doing. You see what Charles Schwab is doing. You see what JP Morgan is doing. I mean, you literally had Jamie Dimon 2 years ago that was laughing at Bitcoin, not believing in the asset. Now all of a sudden using JP Morgan Chase, you can go out and you can borrow against your Bitcoin holdings to get home mortgages. You have Charles Schwab that's about to, you've seen all the announcement that they've made, but they're about to custody Bitcoin for the first time. This is the low-cost provider of all wealth management in the country with 30 million bank accounts, and they're going all in. You see what they've done at BlackRock. You see what they're doing with all the ETFs that you just mentioned, the most successful ETFs in history. Every single one of them that launches has become an incredible success. Now all of a sudden they're adding on top of that, they're adding yield strategies on top of that. Then you look at what Michael Saylor's doing, and he's a dear friend and doing a phenomenal job. You look at what Simon and Metaplanet's doing a phenomenal job. You look at what 21 Capital is doing. Guys, they are buying and they are not selling. You look at what I'm doing at American Bitcoin mining. We are mining and we are not selling. We believe in the asset. You look at all the companies, how they're growing their Bitcoin treasuries. You look at private companies like the Trump Organization, how we're treasuring Bitcoin because we believe in it as an asset class. We are compressing Bitcoin. There is a limited supply, and that limited supply, as much as we like to throw around 21 million, it's not 21 million. People have lost it, but beyond that, people are not selling it, people are holding it. Bitcoin is becoming sticky. And it's no longer, the DeFi crowd who are incredible, the young kids who really believed in digital assets and were buying Bitcoin when it was $10 and $50 and $100. Now you have the biggest institutional accounts. You have governments. You have the United States government that holds 300,000 Bitcoin and will not sell it. You have the Middle East that is using energy from cities that they don't need to cool in the middle of winter, but they do obviously have to cool in the middle of summer because it's hot as hell. Guess what they're using all that extra capacity for? To mine Bitcoin. Guys, it is compressing, and it is compressing hard. And honestly, I was saying this backstage, we were talking a little bit. I'm more confident in Bitcoin today, at the number that it's at today, than I was in Bitcoin when it was 125,000, because honestly, what Bitcoin's done in the last 6 months relative to what Bitcoin's done in the previous 3 years is transformational. I mean, this rush is only getting going, and we are in the greatest period, I think, in the history of crypto, and just hold on, guys, hold on, it's coming.
That last part might be my favorite, even though he should have said the greatest period in Bitcoin. And obviously it's leaning into the memes of just hodl, just hold on. The cavalry is coming is almost what it seemed like he was trying to say. Anyways, there's a lot to unpack here. Obviously, I'm not going to hit every point that he said, but look, I know a lot of people, especially my friends and more hardcore Bitcoiners, they look at not only just President Trump, but his kids, and they have this opinion of them as, oh, they have good talking points. They're not really Bitcoiners. They really don't get it. They're just here to make a buck. I mean, who isn't here just trying to make a buck? Obviously, us more ideological Bitcoiners, which he did kind of point out. He basically mentioned all of us here, though I don't think many of us here bought at $5, $10, $100, but he did give a little nod to us. You know, the suits are nodding to us. And at the same time, they're like, okay, thank you for the baton. We realized we were mistaken. We missed the boat, at least up to this point. But we're going to take it from here. Now, and that's not to say that they're going to control Bitcoin, but you're starting to see that the institutions are extremely bullish on Bitcoin. The biggest names in the world are being bullish on Bitcoin. And I did talk about that a little bit yesterday on yesterday's show, and I've thought a little more about this, so I will talk about that kind of idea of, you know, institutions versus just the everyday Bitcoiner towards the end of the show and the culture. But the interest in Bitcoin, the FOMO that people are feeling in Bitcoin, I think it's real. People are starting to realize, yes, this Bitcoin thing is never going away. We should probably get into it some way, in some fashion, because we don't want to miss out on the next, 15 years of gains here. So you can see it's changed. Things have changed. Now, I'm not saying this time is different per se, but there is a fundamental shift in the sentiment towards Bitcoin that I think we are completely underestimating. So I did write down a couple of notes here of basically some of the points that he said before I play you the other clip, which is a lot more, it's a lot more in the G Money lane, which is super awesome. It's a lot more in the Jason Lowery soft war lane. So I'm going to play a bunch of clips for you guys today. Anyways, the first one that I think is very interesting is the framing that he said there's a compression happening. He even started out that clip by basically saying, like, Wall Street has been suppressing Bitcoin, which I think all of us has felt. We've all have felt that in terms of price, there has been something off. But even further, in terms of sentiment and narrative trench warfare, there has been a wholesale suppression of Bitcoin. There was this idea that we don't want Bitcoin to get out of the door. We don't want this Bitcoin mind virus to catch on, because if it catches on, then the institutions will lose their control. They will lose their power. Well, the genie's out of the bottle at this point. Now they're starting to realize it's a classic meme. You know, first they ignore you. Then they laugh at you, and then they fight you. Or wait, is it first? Yeah, I think that's the way they say it. We are at the point where I don't know if we're at the end of then they fight you and then you win stage, but we are seeing a lot of people, and I hate using the term smart money, but there is a lot of smart money, quote unquote, that is starting to realize it's probably a lot more profitable to just accept Bitcoin in some fashion. And is that not the Bitcoin incentive theory? Literally, Satoshi said this in the earliest days of Bitcoin, that, yeah, it's probably more beneficial to just use the network, to mine the network, to profit off this network, to hold Bitcoin than it is to fight Bitcoin. And this is where the idea of, are we leaving the early adopter phase and going into the early majority phase? And it might be early in that jump, in that, transition, but I think it's completely underway. And I know a lot of us aren't the biggest fans of the institutions. I know a lot of us don't like the suits, but they're here. And they're not only here, they want to participate in our events, in the Bitcoin conference. And I know a lot of people were a little, upset about that. But I think it's fundamentally showing us that Bitcoin is maturing, that Bitcoin is growing out of this small, dark corner of the internet, and it's getting ushered into the main stage, the mainstream. And we're here to watch all of this happen. I do kind of agree with him that this is probably going to be the best time to be in Bitcoin. Now, maybe we're not going to be getting, the incredible 1,000,000+% gains that the OGs got from 2010 to now. But I still think there's a lot of room left in the Bitcoin price action and also the adoption phase of Bitcoin. I think we are, I don't want to say at the beginning of the S-curve adoption, but I don't want to be too bullish, but man, it does feel, Sailor said it, the Cambrian explosion of Bitcoin. It does feel like it's closer than ever. Anyways, going back to my notes here again, of course, we've been covering the next point that I want to cover is literally every institution is bullish. We've gotten to the point where they stop fighting us, which I just basically said, to now they're ushering in their own Bitcoin products. Like literally the very people that used to say Bitcoin's an index of money laundering, it's only for criminals, I will never touch this, quit asking me about Bitcoin, I'm tired of talking about Bitcoin. Now they're literally trying to not only take as much Bitcoin from you as possible, but take as much of the pie of the Bitcoin industry as possible, because we're realizing one thing. Actually, I saw a really interesting report, and maybe I'll cover it for you guys tomorrow, but the report came out yesterday, I believe, and it was basically saying that not only are the banks and institutions losing out in terms of Bitcoin, but they're also losing out in terms of traditional banking because of all the upstarts that are in the Bitcoin space. They are in an existential crisis. As much as we feel like we're in an existential crisis in terms of our identity, they're in an existential crisis in terms of their business models because of what is happening in the Bitcoin space. This is probably why we're seeing the banking lobby freak out so much about the Clarity Act, is because they realize they might not be able to compete. Yes, they have all the money, they got more money than God. They got the biggest lobbying groups in the world. But when an idea's time has come, you can't stop the tsunami. It's a good time. It's a good day. I'm actually a little more surprised with the clips that I'm seeing from the Bitcoin 2026 conference. Obviously, nothing that was as groundbreaking as, say, maybe a nation state adopting Bitcoin. Nothing like the first time a soon-to-be president has talked about Bitcoin. But the foundation is very strong here. The bullish signal from the conference is very strong. Yes, it's coming from the suits. Yes, it's coming from the institutions. But it does feel like a tide shift. And then other things that we've talked about, obviously the Middle East mining Bitcoin. I've been saying for a while that right now at 76K is probably the least risky time to buy Bitcoin. We are no longer at the point of people wondering whether it's going to go to all-time high again. We're like very sure it's going to go not only to all-time high, but way past it. But now that everyone wants to get in, it seems like there's no risk left in investing or buying and holding Bitcoin. Now, of course, the big story here, which was a little contentious on Twitter, was that sound clip of Eric Trump saying the U.S. government holds 300,000 Bitcoin and they are not selling. Now, that is a very strong soundbite. It sounds very good. Obviously, from a hardcore Bitcoiner perspective, it's like, we haven't been able to verify whether we actually hold 300,000 coins. And then even further, a lot of that 300,000 coins, I think it's a little more. I forget what the number is. Wasn't it like 3 and some change? It's a little higher than that. But a lot of that coin that the U.S. government supposedly holds, in quotes, there are some court cases. There is some legal obligations to give that Bitcoin back to the victims of scams and, exchange crashes. And that's where this contention is coming from. And that's where you could get a little cynical here, where the idea is like, okay, do we actually hold that much Bitcoin? If they say they're never going to sell that Bitcoin, well, it sounds like they're not going to be giving that Bitcoin back to the victims of these crimes. And therefore, we're seeing a pseudo 6102 happen. If the government get a hold of your Bitcoin, not your keys, not your cheese, it's most likely never going to get back to you. And I've mentioned this months ago, where it seems when we're hearing the strategic Bitcoin reserve announcements, it seems like the only way the only budget neutral way for them to get Bitcoin is for them to take Bitcoin from you. So with that being said, it's obviously more important than ever to make sure that you take Bitcoin into custody. You don't leave it on an exchange, because if there is some kind of collapse and you do end up in a legal battle trying to get a hold of your Bitcoin, it seems like you might not get it back. Now, if you take all of that out of the window, which is, I think, the biggest concern for all of us Bitcoiners, it does sound, if you connect that with what we heard the other day, I forget who it was. I'm blanking on what position he had in the U.S. government right now. But he said we are going to get a very big special announcement about the strategic Bitcoin reserve very soon. We got an announcement of an announcement regarding the strategic Bitcoin reserve. Now, in the context of this, what would that announcement be? What could be the biggest announcement about the strategic reserve that we've heard since it was launched? It would be that they're acquiring Bitcoin, that they're buying Bitcoin. Now, if we get that, then it does seem like their plans around Bitcoin are very serious, that they are taking Bitcoin very seriously. Obviously, Bitcoiners and the crypto enthusiasts were one of the driving forces that got Donald Trump elected. So it's going to be very interesting if we just see another politician gets what he wants and then he just completely ignores what his voters that got him into that position want. So the next few weeks is going to be pretty interesting in my opinion. And look, maybe the biggest strategic Bitcoin reserve announcement we've heard this year is going to be a nothing burger, which, you know, as the meme goes, nothing ever happens. I mean, at this point, nothing ever happens. It's so over, and yet nothing ever happens. So, you know, I'm not really holding my breath on what this announcement is going to be. But the foundation here, the fundamental, as I said in the beginning of the show, Overton window shifting, the conversation shifting around Bitcoin, I think is way bigger than we want to lead on, because it's not coming from a grassroots, you know, dudes in hoodies perspective, because it does seem like Wall Street is here and we're kind of persuading Wall Street to really embrace us. And nothing's happened in the last year or so, actually 2 years, basically. I mean, we have seen incredible ETF successes. We have seen incredible ETF inflows. Obviously, Saylor is putting on a masterclass in regards to marketing Bitcoin and putting it in products so that Wall Street capital can flow into Bitcoin. It's very, very interesting if you can step back a bit, be a little more objective about it, and view what we're seeing happen right now and be like, man, are we on the precipice of an incredible bull run finally after, 9 years? Is this bull run, is the next phase up going to be different because of the foundation that has been set? I know a lot of us don't want to really say it, but the Wall Street interest, the institutional capital interest, is going to take us to a next level. I don't like to believe it either, that the institutions are going to take us to the moon. Remember, we used to say we're going to the moon meme? Man, good times. Now we're like, no, not like this. I didn't want this to happen. I didn't want this to happen. Okay, all right. Shifting the gears a little bit. Yes, guys, I am early. Sorry. As I've been telling you guys, they are working on the roof here today, and it seems like they're on lunch break. So I'm trying to get the show out through the lunch break so I don't get any, exterior noise here. So I am early. Okay. I am early. I know. This might be the only on-time show that we have in a long time. All right. Anyways, pivoting a little bit. Now let's hear the VIP conversation that Eric Trump had, the behind the scenes conversation. This is in the deep. If you've ever been to the Bitcoin conference, there's the main stage conversation. And then for the VIP crowd, like where the buffet is behind the scene, for the red carpet people, they usually hold smaller speeches with these influential people. And we got a clip here. We got an interesting clip here. And shouts out to our boy G Money. If you know G Money, I forget what his show is on Rumble. I don't know. You know our boy Pepe. It's Pepe something, right? I forget what your name is. Sorry, G Money. Forgive me. I'm blanking on it. But he posted this. And this one's a little stronger. It's a little more interesting. And what the other clip I'm going to play for you guys in the numbers, It's really going to gel here. So here's the second clip.
Security, strategic asset.
Listen, we have to have the greatest monetary system in the world. That is national security. When you look at every country in the world, name a currency that anybody, I asked the big group in there, the thousands of people that we had in the other room, would anybody in here want to buy any other currency other than the US dollar? Meaning if you weren't buying Bitcoin first and foremost, but would any, everybody wants to be on the dollar. Everybody wants to have the backing of the United States of America because, guys, we are the greatest country with the greatest economy in the world. What creates our power? Aside from a great system, aside from democracy and other things but it's like we have the greatest, safest, best financial system in the world. Not to say that we don't have flaws, because I could sit here and I can go on about the flaws for hours, but we are hands down by far better than anybody. And that's what gives our country such power. It's what makes us the economic powerhouse. You look at our country, we're a $33 trillion economy and going up fast. We've outpaced Europe over the last 15 years by double digits, by 2x. I mean, we've grown 2x faster than Europe has. If you look at our $33 trillion, what's China as an economy? It's about $23 trillion economy. And we have what? 1/5, 1/6 the amount of people. No one competes with the economic powerhouse of the United States of America. And so we better win. And so is Bitcoin national security? Of course it is. What's better than investing in an asset that historically over the last 10 years has grown at 70% average year over year for the last decade? You ever want to talk about getting out of national debt? That's your way to do it. Aside from growth, that's your way to do it. That's a great way to plug that problem, right? So that's national security. Your deficit is national security. If you have less debt, you can spend more on education, you can spend more on your military, you can spend more making sure that we remain the superpower of the world. And so having cryptocurrency dominance, having Bitcoin dominance, controlling the mining, controlling the ecosystem, supporting the ecosystem, safeguarding the ecosystem, congratulations, that is national security. Not to mention all the other attributes that the crypto sphere can provide to, obviously, the Pentagon and to generals and to a lot of other things. Guys, we are bringing into this country, aside from just Bitcoin, if you want to look at stablecoin, we are bringing in literally almost trillions of dollars a year into fixed income, right, and into securities that we would have never otherwise been able to bring into this country, because you have people sitting in distant lands that want to own something backed by America. And that's a beautiful thing for this country, that's a beautiful thing for this economy, and that's a beautiful thing for national security.
So are we going to see...
Oh, not the biggest fan on the stablecoin stuff there, but it does remind me, and I think at this point, everyone should probably go read my boy Mark Goodwin's book, The Bitcoin Dollar System. It's playing out in real time. Now, I thought the framing of this is very interesting, though. In the context, obviously, he went very hard. He's the president's son. He's pro-America, obviously. Excuse me, 1 second, guys. And the framing, though, which is something we've been saying here on the show for a long time. It's like, look, if you think fiat currencies are going to collapse, the dollar is going to be the last fiat currency to collapse. It's the, it's the strongest turd in the turd pile. And yet, if you look at demand in terms of stable coins, in terms of dollars, in terms of the world's perspective about wanting dollars, everyone wants everyone wants dollars. It's the best currency. It's the best, shiniest turd in the race. But using this idea here, and there was some stuff in there that I'm not the biggest fan of, and obviously he's saying U.S. needs to control Bitcoin mining. We need to onshore everything. We need to be the leaders here so that we can the silver lining here, or maybe the reading between the lines, is so that we can control this network, which is a whole nother cans of worms. The framing here is pretty interesting in terms of, and he referenced his speech on the stage, which was, and again, I'm going to butcher it, but he said something on the lines of if you look around the world, you want to basically own the best currency. You want to own the best money. For the last, 15 years, most people consider the dollar the best money or the best currency, however you want to frame it. And now we're getting to the point where people are realizing, wait, no, the best thing you want to hold is Bitcoin. And if the president's son is thinking this, you could think that, President Donald Trump is not the smartest guy in the room. I would actually take the opposite of that. I think he is a very savvy person. Yes, he's got his faults. I'm not saying I'm like a pro-Trump magatard person, but I'm just saying you don't get to the level that you get if there isn't something about you that is incredibly savvy. And if his son is thinking in this way that, yes, the world is waking up to the fact that you want Bitcoin, I think the framing is very interesting. And then obviously we've already been hearing this for a while, this idea that Bitcoin is a national security concern. We saw the 4-star general say it. Jason Lowery's been saying it. Our boy G Money's been saying it. Bitcoiners have been saying this for a very long time, that if you want to compete in the 21st century, you need to use the 21st century money, which is, of course, Bitcoin. If you want to compete in the digital world, you need to use Bitcoin. And I'm not going to say, digital currency or digital assets or whatever the framing is. It's like, no, it is a very strong line. If you want to compete in the world that we live in, you need to use Bitcoin. You need to embrace Bitcoin. And not in a way that you want to, fool all the Bitcoiners, get their votes, embrace Bitcoin so that you can control Bitcoin. No, you want to basically give good soil so that Bitcoin entrepreneurs can build, and then, of course, so that people can use and save in Bitcoin. And it's funny when I bring this up, a lot of people in the chat, they always get mad at me and they're like, look at these un-American Bitcoiners, they must love China or something. And it's like, no. I don't have my patriotism, my love for my country wrapped up in a Federal Reserve note. I don't have my love for where I'm from because of the paper dollar IOU note that we use. I think it's very, very simple for us to embrace Bitcoin and yet still maintain everything that I love about my country. And I think if you live around the world, you probably think the same way. It's like, my money doesn't change the country that I come from. Look at what happened in El Salvador. If anything, El Salvador embraced Bitcoin. They were probably like the worst country in the world, $32 billion GDP, basically a speck in the global map. They embrace Bitcoin. Yes, you could argue and say that there might be some form of authoritarianism that you don't like. But from everything I've seen on El Salvador, it seems like the Salvadorians love their country even more so because they have embraced Bitcoin. Yes, there was some obstacles, some kinks. It wasn't perfectly rolled out. There was some things to be mad at and concerned about. But now from all of the, you could say, propaganda that I've seen, all the social media posts that I've seen, it looks like the country's better. And it looks like the people love their country more. It looks like people are moving back to their country. So I repeat what I always say. I think Bitcoin is as American as apple pie. And I know everyone's like, oh, America didn't create apple pie. Yeah, whatever. It doesn't matter, man. It's the saying. Bitcoin is the American ideals. Secured. What's Sailor always say? Secured in cyberspace by the goddess of wisdom or knowledge. I forget what he's saying. I forget what he's saying. But the reason I wanted to play that clip as well is because we got a brand new clip from Pete Hegseth. He's what? The defense secretary here? Last week, we got the 4-star admiral saying something that maybe you can, you can look at and be like, he really doesn't know what he's talking about. But maybe there's a memo here, Maybe this is the ballroom memo in terms of Bitcoin being a national security concern or a national security asset. But even if there is a semblance of truth here, even if it's directionally correct, I think they're starting to realize that, yes, we actually can't fight Bitcoin if we want to win in the world that we live in. We might actually have to embrace it. Obviously, the politicians are thinking, all right, we're going to embrace it, but we're going to put safeguards on it because that, that's going to be the protection of the customer, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Whatever. Bitcoin is the Trojan horse. And if they just give us a little bit of wiggle room, Bitcoin's going to completely take over. Things are going to be fundamentally different. And we're going to be living in a different world. It might actually be the golden age. It'll be the orange age. It'll be the Bitcoin age. But as we know, as we've been saying for a long time, Secretary of War, thank you. I'm trying not to simp for politicians. Really what I said before, I'm seeing the comment, guys. Sorry, I'm seeing the comment. Really what I said when I saw this morning, my initial reaction was like, look, I know he's a politician's son. I know, I even said it, I think on Monday or no, Tuesday. I'm like, yeah, I know he's a politician. And that was in terms of Nick Begich, the congressman. And I was like, I know they're politicians. I know their job's to lie and say what you want to be heard. But you got to like that rhetoric. It's very good rhetoric. Now, the real follow through is that, can we see some action here? Is it going to be more than words? If it's just words, I'm with you. I will crash out harder than anyone else. But if it's more than words and we do see some action that does benefit us as Bitcoiners, can we really be mad? Are we going to be so cynical that even if they do something good for us, we're still going to hate them? I don't know. I guess I must be naive and ideological, because I still believe that, yes, there are some people out there as politicians that actually do want to fix the system. I know there's a grand uni-party conspiracy, and actually it's not even a conspiracy. It's not even a conspiracy. And I will cover some stuff because Thomas Massey made a huge post that will, in fact, lean into that uni-party idea. But I still want to believe that there are some politicians that are just as sick and tired of how things are going as we are. And they're trying to fix the world. Obviously, there's the great Leviathan. There's a big machine that they're fighting against, and one cog isn't going to bring down the entire machine. It is going to take an organized effort from every single one of us, whether they're politicians or a normal person. But if you are not at the levers of power, then what are we doing? We're just complaining and whining, and we're not changing anything. Your Twitter posts aren't changing anything. We need people in power, or we need Bitcoiners to rise in power so that we can change things. And the best we have right now is some really good rhetoric. But if that doesn't start changing the conversation, well, we got an uphill battle. And then actually on that point, I do see the very negative, cynical view of this, where this could go very bad for us if the Democrats, at least in the US, if the Democrats get back into power in 2028. Because there's going to be some vengeance, and Bitcoin is going to totally be on the top of the list. So, you know, I don't want to go full like, I want to support these people. I'm just saying, I like what they're saying. It sounds good. I don't want to come back here with my tail in between my legs and be like, hey, look, I fell for it again. I'm trying to be objective of what they're saying. And also, I want to see some follow through. But we got to remember what the stakes here are. The Dems might take the midterms. If they take the 2028 presidency, guys, let's just put it this way. Simply Bitcoin might not be based in the U.S. anymore. We might actually have to get out of here. It could get very vicious. They're coming with a vengeance. So I hope more people hear stuff like this, wake up to the fact that, yeah, I actually want Bitcoin. It is going to benefit me. But on the flip side, we all know what the Dems think about anything the Trump family says. Their whole political ideology is just do the opposite of what the Trumps are doing. That's literally their entire basis. That's all they do. And I'm not trying, you guys know me. I try to be as apolitical as possible. You know, I feel politically homeless, but 2028 might get very interesting if the Dems get back in power, because they're going to come with a vengeance for all of Bitcoin and every Bitcoiner. At the very least, the gulags will be pretty lit, right? Let's send off the overseas. All right, that's a good one. All right, that's a good one. Okay. That's a good one. You got me. That's a good one. Okay. All right, anyways, I'm going to keep it moving because I just realized I've been ranting for 35 minutes on this topic. Quick commercial break. I'll be right back. We're going to talk about what Pete Hegseth just said yesterday. 1 minute.
Today's episode is brought to you by Bitcoin Well Infinite. If you're a serious Bitcoin buyer, you've probably hit the same wall. Most platforms make you give up custody just to play by the rules. Bitcoin Well Infinite fixes that. They're North America's only publicly traded non-custodial OTC desk listed on the TSX Venture Exchange, which means transparent operations and zero counterparty risk.
You buy Bitcoin, you take immediate control, period. For trades over $50,000, you get a dedicated executive Bitcoin advisor, competitive spread starting at 1%, and immediate delivery straight to your own wallet. No custody risk, no withdrawal fees, just institutional grade execution with full asset control. If you want to buy Bitcoin the right way, book a free consultation at bitcoinwell.com/OTC or email infinite@bitcoinwell.com.
I want to give a shout out to our partner, Stampseed. Is your Bitcoin in cold storage really secure? Are your seed phrases really secure? Stampseed's do-it-yourself kit has everything you'll need for you to hammer your seed words into commercial-grade titanium plates instead of just writing them down on paper. Paper is fragile. Titanium plates are strong. Your words are actually stamped into the titanium plate with this hammer and these letter stamping tools. Once the words are in, they aren't going anywhere. No risk of the plate breaking apart and pieces falling everywhere. Titanium stamp seeds will survive nearly triple the heat produced by a house fire. They're also crush-proof, waterproof, non-corrosive, and time-proof. And now you can customize your titanium seed plates. You can upload your design or logo, and they will laser engrave it on the back of your seed plate, the opposite side of where the words are. Stamp your seed on Stampseed and use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off anything on the stampseed.com store.
Guys, am I lagging? I saw Senor Gringo Papi saying I'm lagging. Hopefully I'm not lagging. Let me know in the chat. Am I good? It looks like I'm good. Okay. Anyways, the current Bitcoin price is $76,280. The discount from all-time high is 39.5%. The market cap is 1.53 trillion. And the block height is 947,310. And guys, forgive me. It sounds like that. It sounds like we might have some background noise. I don't know if you guys can hear that right now, but I'll try to get through this as quickly as possible. Anyways, we got an interesting clip coming out of the Bitcoin Policy Institute. And it is kind of piggybacking a little bit about what we saw the 4-star admiral, his name was like Paparo, I think. And it is on the idea of Bitcoin as a national security concern. And we got Pete Hegseth, which is what, Secretary of War? He just got asked about this. And he is echoing the same thing, but there's a little soundbite in here that is pretty interesting to me. On the one hand, it's interesting in the sense of what might happen. On the other hand, it's a little concerned about how this is going to affect me and you as an individual. So let me play the clip and then we'll chat about it.
Over the past decade, Bitcoin has evolved from a fringe asset into a matter of national security. Iran has demanded Bitcoin as a toll for transit through the Strait of Hormuz. North Korean cyber actors have leveraged it in ransomware campaigns, and China is believed to be stockpiling substantial holdings as part of a strategic reserve. Just last week, Indo-PACOM Commander Admiral Paparo stated that Bitcoin has direct implications for power projection, and he noted that Indo-PACOM is operating a node on the Bitcoin network in furtherance of that mission. Secretary, Do you share the opinion that Bitcoin is a tool to project power? And are there any department-wide initiatives to ensure the U.S. secures a strategic advantage in Bitcoin and combats China's digital authoritarianism?
I guess my short answer would be yes and yes. Long an enthusiast of Bitcoin and crypto potential, and a lot of the things we're doing enabling it or defeating it are classified efforts that are ongoing inside our department, which do provide us a lot of leverage in a lot of different scenarios.
Did you guys catch that? Did you catch that little bit? One, he said, we have classified efforts to either enable it or defeat it. Now, I'm not sure if he was referencing the China's push for their strategic Bitcoin reserve, because I am seeing rumors and people talk about that fact that it seems like China is very seriously not just considering, but actively working on a strategic Bitcoin reserve by any other name, because the U.S. government has done this, because Trump came out so pro Bitcoin, or at least, rhetorically so pro Bitcoin, and we on paper launch a strategic Bitcoin reserve. So there's two points here. One, it's seen in their country. Obviously, in China, it's not going to happen the same way it happens here per se, but there's 2 points in there. He's basically like, yeah, confirmed China is totally doing a strategic Bitcoin reserve. They're totally, working on it, maybe acquiring Bitcoin, maybe silently buying Bitcoin for it. 2, of course, we all know the Iran Strait of Hormuz Bitcoin payments kind of idea, another Overton window shift. But in that context of that clip, on the one hand, I don't know if he's saying we are trying to defeat China in the strategic Bitcoin reserve race, or did he say, because he just said defeat it. Is this where all the quantum FUD is coming from? Are they trying to shut down the Bitcoin network? Classified efforts to enable or defeat it. I don't know, man. The classified efforts is interesting, which really goes into the first segment of this show, which we have been covering for weeks and actually years now. That we here at Simply Bitcoin, Nico and I in particular, I've been like totally convinced that the U.S. government is stacking Bitcoin. I think it would be a real dumb move to come out and be so pro Bitcoin and then not actively acquire Bitcoin. Like that's, it's just not the smartest move. Like, yeah, you say you're pro Bitcoin because you kind of have to, and then you continue to accumulate Bitcoin. And then finally, once you got a position that you feel comfortable with, that's when you announce that you have been acquiring, because that's going to start a FOMO chain. That's going to start more people trying to acquire Bitcoin. So it doesn't make sense to go out there and basically telegraph every single one of your buys. Now, is that the classified efforts to enable it? Again, I don't know what it even means by defeat it. Now, all that conversation is completely besides the point. If Bitcoin was being talked about at the levels that it has been talked about in previous years, the Bitcoin price would have went absolutely nuclear. And here we are in the big 2.6, like, man, it doesn't matter. It's just rhetoric. It's just politicians. They don't actually understand Bitcoin. It's like dude, they are in the last 1 week. It's been in the last week. We've heard a very similar sentiment. Bitcoin is a national security matter. And you can take that in various ways. Obviously, in terms of sanctioned and skirting OFAC, trying to control capital control of money, trying to make sure that bad people don't use it. Obviously, that's one angle of it. Now, the other angle is basically what us Bitcoiners have been saying forever. If you sleep on Bitcoin and you don't embrace it, you are losing out. It's no longer a question of if you should buy Bitcoin. It's really a question of how much should you buy Bitcoin. I think we've gotten way past the, Bitcoin's good or bad, I don't want to touch it, to how can we acquire Bitcoin? It's a subtle shift, but it's a big shift. And that is part of the broader conversation. That's part of my more bullish, bull case here is I know we are still in a 4-year cycle, or at least seemingly 4-year cycle. It's playing out exactly as it always has. It's right in the same timeline. And I'm always wrong when I say this time is different. And maybe the price isn't different. But in terms of the conversation, in terms of the Overton window, in terms of the public acceptance and consciousness surrounding Bitcoin, it's fundamentally different. There's so many clips that I could have played for you guys from the Bitcoin conference that are just showing how different this time is. In particular, Morgan Stanley, head of digital assets, she was out there basically saying, look, we are recommending 2 to 4%. And our Bitcoin advisors haven't even been able to shill it to our customers yet. Most of the Bitcoin buying through the Morgan Stanley ETF, which is their most successful ETF launch in the history of their ETF launch, it was all self-directed buys, which is basically another way of saying that it was their clients that took it upon themselves to buy Bitcoin. Their tens of thousands of advisors didn't even get the opportunity to go out there yet and push Bitcoin on them. And then we got another hedge fund manager basically saying like, yeah, we're not just recommending 4%, we're recommending 15%. What was it? Charles Schwab says, hey, if you are bullish on Bitcoin, if you're willing to kind of stomach the risk, we'd recommend as high as 22%. There was a Czech banker who basically said if you just add 1% to your portfolio, the outside returns versus risk ratio blows every portfolio out of the water. So we got all of institutions shilling Bitcoin, or at the very least, building the educational foundation for them to shill Bitcoin. We have presidents talking about Bitcoin. We have military officials talking about Bitcoin. And maybe these aren't the people you like, obviously. But, they're hammering up there. Hopefully you guys can't hear that. But does that not just show you how different the conversation is around Bitcoin this time? We thought this was going to happen in 2021. Here we are in 2026 at the bottom of a bear market. And it's like the most bullish statements, most bullish rhetoric we've ever heard about Bitcoin. It's almost as if Bitcoin has already been accepted by every single person on planet Earth. Obviously, we're not there. But the shift in rhetoric, in acceptance, I think it's going to fundamentally change where we are when Bitcoin starts running again. I think we're on the verge of something magical. Anyways, guys, I am going to keep it moving because I want to. I'm going to kind of power through the rest of the show because it seems like I might get some noise above me. So, quick commercial break. I'll be right back.
I want to give a shout out to our partner, Ledin. Here's something most Bitcoin holders never figure out until it's too late. You're sitting on wealth you can't touch without selling. Ledin fixes that. Bitcoin-backed loans. You keep your stack, you get cash. And they just introduced their lowest rates ever. No complexity, no fine print. The larger the loan, the lower the rate. These new rates apply to all new loans, refinances, and renewals. You'll see all the rates up front before you apply. The new, lower rates come with Ledin's gold standard protection. Your Bitcoin remains custodied and is never lent out for interest. Perfect 8-year track record of keeping clients' assets safe. Auto top-ups, LTV alerts, and partial repayments to keep you in control. Repay whenever you want with zero penalties or monthly payments. Ledin's perfect $10 billion track record through every market cycle in the last 8 years speaks for itself. Don't choose between a great rate and the safety of your Bitcoin. Get both at Ledin. I want to give a shout out to our partner, BitKey. If you already self-custody your Bitcoin, you already know the deal with hardware wallets by now. Complex setups, clumsy interfaces, and a seed phrase that can be lost, stolen, or forgotten. BitKey fixes that. BitKey is a multi-sig hardware wallet built by the team behind Square and Cash App. It packs a cryptographic recovery system and built-in inheritance feature into an intuitive, easy-to-use wallet with no seed phrase to sweat over. It's simple, secure, self-custody without the stress. Time named BitKey one of the best inventions of 2024. Get 20% off at bitkey.world. That's BITKEY.world with the code SIMPLY.
This is a good comment, Foxy. Jokes on Hegseth. Where are the servers, guys? Where are the servers? No one has been able to answer where the servers are. That's the big question. And then I guess Down Under Blues. So you guys aren't hearing the hammering. Okay, then maybe I can chill out. But there's definitely I'm not going crazy. There's definitely noise happening here, but apparently the mics aren't picking it up. So I might not have to stream from my apartment tomorrow. Opti needs our help. Okay, all right. You guys aren't hearing the hammering. Okay, cool. Anyways, so we are going to go into politics here a little bit. I know. Simply politics. It's annoying, but there are some implications for us as individuals, which obviously we've seen a worrying trend globally in something very similar. And the framing and the packaging of this is very concerning. And you may not like the people that are ringing the bell here, but it's not a good trend. Okay. Anyways, what am I talking about? Here is from The Hill. And it goes, House approves reauthorization of warrantless spy powers. So the House on yesterday, approved the renewal of the nation's warrantless spy powers in a 235 to 191 vote that cleared the chamber with support from lawmakers on both sides of the aisle. The bill, which would renew Section 702 of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, or FISA, still has to clear the Senate by today. Section 702 of FISA allows the government to spy on foreigners located abroad, but it has long generated calls to include a warrant requirement before reviewing any information collected on Americans who communicate with over targets. The measure passed by the House on Wednesday includes modest reforms to the program, including allowing a larger pool of lawmakers to review information presented to the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court. It extends Section 702 for 3 years, longer than the 18-month request initially made by President Trump. Okay, now you're probably like, what does this have to do with Bitcoin? Well, let's go to Thomas Massey first. And he goes, the House passed FISA Section 702 renewal yesterday. I voted no. This was a uniparty vote in favor of unchecked government surveillance without adequate warrants or accountability. Now, I know Thomas Massey isn't the most loved by the MAGA crowd, but he is a libertarian, and I probably agree with, I wouldn't say all of it, but I agree with a lot of what Thomas Massey does and stands for. So, Thomas Massey using the rhetoric that we're so used to, a uniparty vote in favor of unchecked government surveillance. Now, what is something we have talked about here on the show? The global push for digital IDs and CBDCs and how they work together. How you can't have a CBDC if you don't also have a digital ID, or even further. What we've been talking about in terms of the Roman Storm and Samurai Wallet devs, that there is an active attack on privacy. Well, now it seems like the Dems and the Republicans have just voted to renew unchecked government surveillance on every single one of us. It's not a good look. Now, going a little further, I saw this Marjorie Taylor Greene post on this, and it gives you some interesting, background on this. And I know Marjorie Taylor Greene now is on the outside of the Trump administration. She was once a very pro-Trump congresswoman, and now she's basically been kicked out. She left. Well, she left because she was seemingly going to get kicked out, and then Trump just went nuclear on her. So you could say that maybe there's some spite here, but this is where it does get a little interesting and does relate directly to Bitcoin and CBDCs. So let's read this tweet. She goes, do you want to know how bad it is or how bad this is, the House passed a FISA 702 reauthorization yesterday without warrant requirements by adding a good bill that bans a CBDC with this reauthorization. That's how they tried to trick members of Congress, dangle a ban on a CBDC, but you have to give up warrant requirements for Americans for FISA 702. You get one thing you want, but you have to vote for a dirty deed to get it. But Thune says the House bill reauthorizing FISA 702 is dead on arrival because of the ban on CBDC. And Johnson knew this ahead of time, which is even slimier. Take that in. The Republican leader in the Senate said there's no chance in hell the GOP-controlled Senate will pass a ban on a central bank digital currency. Crazy. And the House and Senate together refused to pass any reauthorization of FISA 702 that requires the federal government to get a warrant from a federal judge before they use their super-duper spy tools to spy on you. This is where her spite comes out. But I kind of agree with this. If you are still spinning under your MAGA hat, let me tell you in plain terms. Trump, who we all fought for and supported and who was supposed to be the one to drain the swamp and destroy the deep state and end the foreign wars, actually is the one demanding a clean reauthorization of warrantless surveillance capabilities with FISA 702. And the vast majority of the Republican-controlled House and Senate refuses to pass warrant requirements for American citizens on FISA 702 and refuses to pass a bill banning a CBDC where your money can be controlled. This is not me saying it. This is me telling you exactly what their actions are. Literally what they are doing. And the Dems are no better. They have changed nothing about their policies that failed America, have nothing new to offer, and are only winning because Trump and Republicans betrayed campaign promises with an America last domestic agenda and another pointless foreign war in Iran. Now, because both parties are such America last losers, they are scrambling to state redistricting and gerrymandering as their political midterm strategies to fight the House seats. What a disaster. Look, I get it. You know, what's it? Marjorie Taylor Greene, MTG. She is obviously on a war path against Trump and MAGA, but this isn't good, okay? One, it only passed the House because there was a ban on CBDCs. And I saw a tweet earlier today, and I didn't like it, and I lost it. And it was literally another congressman basically saying, like, we had to pass this because we want to ban the CBDC. And so this isn't just, you know, Marjorie Taylor Greene saying things to really, you know, kick the hornet's nest. I was seeing congressmen literally say this needs to pass because of a ban on the CBDC. And it's basically like slap a ban of a CBDC on it. But the big bill, the meat of the bill is that they can basically surveil every single one of us without a warrant. And I saw another clip basically saying, and this is where like I'm so cooked. It was another clip. I forget who it was, but he was basically saying that we as an independent agency are surveilling all of American citizens for extremist behaviors. And it said in particular on cryptocurrency and podcast and social media. And I'm like, bros, I'm so cooked. It's over for me. We had a good run. The gulags are going to be cool. If I even make it to the gulags. Guys, it's not looking good. It's literally the, Agenda 2030 playing out in real time. They want to surveil us. They want us to own nothing and be happy. They want to pass a digital ID so that they can connect your digital ID to a CBDC system. That's basically what WeChat of China, social credit scores. We are literally walking into the Orwellian future that used to be a sci-fi kind of warning. And I know some of you guys are still very pro-Trump, and I really, you know, part of me really wants to see Trump and the conservatives do what you want them to do, which is obviously protect us. Like I still want to believe that politicians will want to work for us. But I'm also politically homeless, a Bitcoiner that came to Bitcoin because it's apolitical and have been believing in the idea of a uniparty for a very long time. This is not me saying, oh, you know, the Dems are better than the Republicans or the Republicans are better than the Democrats. I'm like, no, it's two wings of the same bird. And the system is so wholly controlled by forces that are out of our hands that they don't even consider what we want. They are actively doing things that we don't want. And yet, everyone just keeps saying, just vote harder. Just keep on voting, guys. It's not what we say. You know what we say? Take your money out of the system. Use a system they can't control. Get your money into Bitcoin. I know it sounds naive and ideological, but if you really want to change the system, the only way you can do that is where you hit them where it hurts. You take your money out of it. All of the things that happen through politics is funded by literally money that they print for nothing, for free. They print it out of thin air. And this is why they're able to do everything that is actively hurting you and your family. This is why we're Bitcoiners. This is why we always advocate for you guys to, you know, work your job, provide value to your fellow man. But make sure you are saving some of that in Bitcoin because it is a system outside of the traditional financial system. It's a system outside of the paper money that is censorship resistant, permissionless, that they can't control, they can't make more of. We've been saying it for a long time. You know, fiat paper money is the currency of war, and Bitcoin is the money of freedom and peace. I know it sounds too naive, and I know I go into politics now because we are growing up, and I know that I'm not even the most savvy, you know, political pundit. But we look at all this through a Bitcoin lens, and what do Bitcoiners want? We just want a little bit of privacy. Well, maybe a little more than privacy. We want to be able to use Bitcoin as money. We want to be able to save in something that doesn't lose value every single year. It's not that crazy. Well, it is kind of crazy to most people, but for us, it's like it doesn't seem that unreasonable to ask for this. An escape hatch is available. Opti's the resistance leader. Oh, dude, we're cooked. We're so cooked if that's the case. Oh, let's see. All right. I kind of agree with Winsome here. All you can do is save in Bitcoin. Clowns who think they are the Wolf of Wall Street are a waste of time and just feed the system. Buy and hodl. Honestly, bars. Life is like a river. I don't know. Simply cooked. Simply cooked, bro. It's so over, man. It is so over. You know, the only thing balancing it's so over is nothing ever happens. There's still hope for us, guys. There is still hope for us, okay? There is still hope. All right, yes, stay humble, stack sats is the way. All right, I'm going to hit that commercial break because I don't know if are you guys not hearing, you're not hearing the hammers and stuff? Well, anyways, I'm going to keep it moving, so I'll be right back.
I want to give a shout out to our partner, HIVE Digital Technologies. Fueled by clean energy, HIVE has quadrupled its global Bitcoin mining footprint and channels that same scale into high performance compute, where their AI cloud is now ranked #1 in the world for network performance. At HIVE, you've got dual engines, Bitcoin and AI humming, roaring, accelerating in unison. They're lean and mean, they're green and clean, and they're rewriting the playbook on sustainable digital infrastructure. You can catch the latest buzz at Hive Digital Tech or at hivedigitaltech.com. I want to give a shout out to our partner, sat123.com. Sovereignty isn't just about your money, it's about your communications too. When the grid goes down, most people go dark. Cell towers fail, and hurricanes, cyber attacks, and blackouts. But satellite phones? They don't rely on local infrastructure. Iridium has 77 satellites in orbit, giving you a direct line anywhere in the US, even offshore. If you hold your own Bitcoin keys, you should hold your own comms too. Sat123.com also has everything you need to start building your Bitcoin citadel. Starlink, battery backups, Faraday bags to protect your hardware wallets, and much, much more. It's a one-stop shop for anyone serious about resilience and off-grid independence. Stay connected, stay independent, stay sovereign. Go to sat123.com/simply today and use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off anything on the store.
All right. You guys are funny. You guys are funny. Dude, I think the streaming is actually making me go crazy. Maybe I am actually imagining the hammers above my head. Dude, Nico's gone for a week and I start imagining that they're doing stuff on the roof. No, guys. There's actually construction going on. Okay. I'm not imagining it, but apparently you guys can't hear it. So that's good to know. On that note, we'll see. Hopefully I'm able to stream from the studio tomorrow. If not, you might have to deal with a Friday makeshift show, but they're okay, guys. I'm not going crazy. There's actually hammers on the roof. Okay. Anyways. Oh yeah, guys. There's some feature here. I think one's going to shorts, like to, the vertical format. I don't know. They just changed this on my streaming software. So I'll figure it out if this is messing up for you guys on YouTube. I don't know. It was there. It was locked in. And so I think there's like a vertical version for like a shorts format. And then there's like the mainstream. I don't know. I don't even know how it's working and what it looks like. So I'm doing a test here. So, okay. Turns out Nico isn't even real. It's just been opted the whole time. Yeah, dude. Yeah. Anyways, what I do want to talk about now that the Bitcoin conference is over, and we kind of got a taste of, well, not a taste. We obviously all basically saw the conversations that happened. It was a lot of, suit focused. It was a lot of institutional conversations. It had a different feel than the old conferences. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying it was different. And there was a lot of suits on stage, and there was a lot of an institutional conversation, and there were politicians and, ABC men and president's kids and, leaders from the biggest banks in the world and hedge fund managers. And I played for you guys a clip yesterday of Dylan LeClaire, who, again, I consider him a good friend. I haven't talked to him in a few years, but we literally came up in the space around the same time, 2017, 2018 era. We were in the trenches on Twitter. The hardcore ideological Bitcoin maxis. We were battling the shitcoiners. We're self-custody maxis. And, wow, it's hot in here. Dude, I'm sweating like a pig. Anyways, and he said something interesting. He's like, look, in my early days, before he got on the board of Metaplanet for, their Bitcoin treasury, he's like, I would have not understood that the only way for Bitcoin to go to the levels that we believe it will is for the institutions, it is for the Wall Streets, it is for the BlackRocks of the world to embrace Bitcoin, to come into Bitcoin and realize that they need Bitcoin just like we need Bitcoin. I think we've been saying this, not even on the show, but I've probably been tweeting this forever. It's like everyone needs Bitcoin, whether that's an individual or corporation, a country. Everyone will be holding Bitcoin. And now that it's happening, we are seeing a little bit of friction here. We are starting to see a lot of people that are very upset about this happening. They're very upset that we talk about it. They're very upset that they're on stage at our conferences. They're very upset that we are, to some extent, embracing them. And it's something I've been thinking about the last couple of days, because obviously the Bitcoin conference is happening, and there was a lot of people that boycotted this conference this year for that very reason. And, you know, so I'm on Twitter and I'm on the show and I see you guys in the chat, and you're seeing a lot of people complain about the suits. And actually, the complaint about the suits has been happening for multiple years now, basically since BlackRock came into the space. You know, there's been a very real trend of complaining about the suits. There's been, you know, the embracing of the suits. There's been the complaining about the suits. There's some of us in the middle that are kind of like, you know, well, not the happiest about it, but I'm also really not mad about it if they pump the price up. If they're buying all the Bitcoin they say they are, and we got number go up, it's like, hey, Bitcoin is for enemies. This is how it was going to happen. We all knew Bitcoin was going to be financialized. We all knew institutions would embrace Bitcoin. But it is very interesting to watch this happen in real time. The conversations that are happening on the stage, the conversations that are happening off the stage. And it really does feel, like I said in the beginning of the show, we are leaving the early adopter phase, maybe the more hardcore phase of Bitcoin. This had to happen this way for Bitcoin to be in the hands of individuals. I saw a stat this morning, and it was, you guys have to be hearing that. It was 65% of all the Bitcoin is still in the hands of individuals. It's still self-custodied by individuals. So even though institutions are here and they're buying a bunch of Bitcoin, you know, millions of Bitcoin, the majority of Bitcoin is still held in the hands of individuals. But now that they're here, they're obviously getting a lot of the headlines, a lot of the fanfare. Obviously, they're making huge Bitcoin buys. And you can see a lot of my friends and probably your friends and probably you and me at times where we get, I don't know, a little kind of this like gross, icky feeling. It's like, wait, what are we doing embracing BlackRock? What are we doing embracing Wall Street? I thought we were going to disintermediate Wall Street. But we are also in the phase where now everyone is going to start holding Bitcoin. So like the thing that we held that was this very niche, revolutionary money, going to change the world, is now crossing the Rubicon into mainstream consciousness. It's being embraced by the very people that we always thought we were fighting. And I think what is happening is that identity of who we are as people, as these revolutionaries, these hardcore, you know, libertarian cypherpunks. Like that, I think, is what's being attacked right now. And I've been saying this in various ways on the show. What's very interesting to me is it does seem like a lot of Bitcoiners right now are holding on to that identity. Like they're very okay with being a big fish in a very small niche. They want to maintain their clout, their reputations, their influence. And as we enter into the big leagues, obviously, one, we don't have the capital that these institutions have. Further, a lot of us don't have the reach that these big institutions have. And I think people are starting to, like, I don't know if panic's the right word, but they're trying to maintain like this idea of who they are as these hardcore revolutionaries. Whereas like me, maybe I'm kind of, you know, you guys know me. I'm not that humble. You know, I'm not that humble, right? But I am okay with Bitcoin going to the next level. And if that means that you guys don't want to watch us anymore, then so be it. That's the, you know, natural progression of what we're trying to do. But it also gives me this exciting kind of challenge. That's like, okay, if we're leveling up, can we as a business level up? Can I as Opti, the communicator, the charismatic character. I don't know what you want to call me. The talking head, what you guys say earlier, the revolutionary leader or whatever. Like, can I rise to that occasion and get more people to really fall in love with Bitcoin like we did, to really see what we see in Bitcoin? And to me, it's very exciting. But it's also, someone said it, I think it was yesterday, someone said it like, you become a Bitcoin podcaster and now Bitcoin's super boring. And it's like, are we even going to have a job anymore? That's kind of where we are. Like, now that every Charles Schwab normie, every Morgan Stanley normie can get into Bitcoin, like, one, it does become boring in a certain respect. It does sort of lose that revolutionary edge that we loved for so long. That it does maybe make it seem like we're losing our identity of being the fighting the system, man. Like, we're going to change things, bro. And it does make it seem like we're being complacent just because numbers going up. But at the very same time, there's still people that are very hardcore about this. And I would say, like, I fundamentally built my whole life on this, on those ideals that we are changing the system. This is a revolutionary movement. This is fundamentally going to change the fabric of our society. And I want to do as much as possible to get Bitcoin into everyone's hands. This is why we do what we do on the show. If you guys don't know, YouTube's the second largest search platform on planet Earth, behind Google, and even it's owned by the same thing. So it's like, this is why we do what we do. And you guys have fought me for years. Like, why are you guys still on YouTube? Well, I love Rumble. I love the guys at Rumble. I love the platform. But if you're not on YouTube, you don't exist to the normie. And the whole goal here is get as many people to understand not only the right way, well, in my opinion, the right way to interact and use Bitcoin, but also make sure that some of that initial revolutionary spirit is still being propagated. Because if we let the suits do everything, it's going to be super boring. They're going to come up here with their suit and tie. They're going to act super professional. They're going to speak in monotones. They're going to have their flashy whatever. And then you have, you're going to lose the Rustins and the Opties of the Bitcoin media space, the absolute lunatics here. And so, look, I'm rambling, I know, but it is super interesting to watch all this play out. Wall Street is getting interested in Bitcoin. They literally, someone said it best yesterday. It's like, it's not that Wall Street's co-opting Bitcoin, it's that Wall Street needs Bitcoin to survive. I'm very on board with that. But I haven't built my whole identity on this view that I'm a superstar in this very small niche community. Personally, I'd much rather be a nobody, but Bitcoin is everything and everywhere. And at these crazy $10 million price prediction ranges, to me, that'd be way cooler. Yeah, maybe, simply Bitcoin doesn't last and become an institution, which is something I want to happen. I want Simply Bitcoin to be the media source from here on until whenever I retire and pack it up. But if that's not in the cards, so be it. Hopefully, I've helped a lot of people along the way. Hopefully, I got a little asterisk in the Bitcoin movement history. I jumbled those. You know what I'm saying? I jumbled that one up. But I don't know. I think it's a very interesting kind of perspective, or rather maybe experiment that we just saw play out. Because this is basically my thesis here. Like, things have changed. Now, can we continue to trudge along, to truck along and push the revolutionary spirit in the face of the institutions coming in? Can we make sure that more people are taking self-custody instead of just buying ETFs? Can we make sure that people are running nodes so that the network stays decentralized? Can we make sure that the hash rate isn't being controlled by a couple of companies that can be shut down? or rather tapped on the shoulder. I think we can. Can Bitcoin even be quantum proof? I don't think quantum computing is that much of a threat, to be honest, but I got a 42 IQ. What do I really know? I'm not a coder. I tried to code once and I realized that the most coding I can do is a very simple hello world. I'm only good at talking and hopefully inspiring you guys to keep on fighting the good fight. And it's really as easy as just buying Bitcoin and taking it into self-custody. The most important part, controlling the Bitcoin, taking it into self-custody. Now, if we can have a cultural impact here at Simply Bitcoin, still yet to be seen. Will the suits dwarf the, Bitcoiner signal? Still yet to be seen. But on that note, we will show up every single day until the wheels fall off, all right? We will be here until I'm actually hearing people on the roof that aren't there and hammers that aren't there. I don't know, guys. I'm rambling. I'm having fun. My fantasies are extremely detailed, so I'm leaning more towards borderline personality disorder rather than schizophrenia. Oh, man. Thank you. Thank you, man. Charlie Day going to play off Team Simply Bitcoin. Okay, guys. Sorry. On this, yeah. Sorry. I tried something new. I don't know. I don't know if it really worked. Let me know. Wait, can I? If you're watching on this little screen, wait. I got two screens, if you guys can see. If you're watching on the vertical, can you comment and tell me if you liked it? If not, I don't know. I didn't experiment. If not, I'm just going to do normal horizontal stream. We will be billionaires. Podcast over. It's not that underground. We're the pirate radio here. All right. We've always been the private radio. We are the pirate radio. Dude, I mean, guys, I got some style. I like some trousers with pleats. Okay, so some of you guys are watching it. Okay. I don't mind it. It was an experiment. I just got the feature here and I was like, really? I think what I'll do is I'll keep the vertical for YouTube. And then I want to do like the stream the horizontal. Wait, rewind. I'm going to keep the horizontal on YouTube. And I want to do the vertical stream to like TikTok and Instagram. Maybe we can break into a different audience. I do like it on my phone, actually. Like the vertical portrait mode. It's different. I don't mind it. Okay. All right. Well, maybe I'll try it again tomorrow. All right. We'll see. Maybe you guys like it. Not enough data. Does it look this way on your vision board? It looks pretty cool, dude. For me not having to do anything, it's kind of tight. It's kind of dope. I don't know. We'll see. We'll talk to the team. I'll figure it out, but I don't know. It's kind of tight. I don't have like the TikTok, Instagram logins. We do have those. So we never really plug those, but we'll see. Maybe I'll keep the horizontal for YouTube and we'll just do this for the other platforms. I thought I clicked on a short and X'd out and started over. So it does look like a short. See, I don't even know what it looks like to you guys. I had the feature. I sent it today. I'm like, whoa, I can multi-stream on both formats. That's pretty cool. Maybe it's actually, it might hurt me. Maybe it's going to take views away from my video. Yeah, I didn't think about that one, but anyways, guys, I appreciate you guys. I'm glad you guys didn't hear any of the noise. Yes. Sin Finner. I do interact with you guys. I'm constantly interacting with you guys. This is a symbiotic relationship. You know, I see almost everything in the chat. I might not agree. I might get mad for a day and be like, man, you're kind of being an asshole here, but like, I'm seeing the comments. I'm updating it into my mental framework. A lot of you guys do add a lot of good context. So I'll pull up the comments. I'll add it into kind of my perspective. But I'll also ignore you. I also will have my own thoughts here, okay? All right, so you guys are hearing the hammers now. Anyways, enough into this. This is going way too long. I'll be back tomorrow. Hopefully I'm able to stream from the studio. If not, stream's going to look a little bare bones, but you guys will have a show tomorrow, okay? On that note, I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. Thank you for every view, every like, every comment you have ever given us. It means the world to me and the team. And we will be back tomorrow for another episode. Yeah, but I'll see you tomorrow. I'm going to crash it out on the chats about the background noise. I mean, hopefully I don't have to do anything tomorrow. All right. Anyways, I'll see you tomorrow. I might start the show on time. Well, no, sorry. I might start the show early tomorrow if I catch the lunch break window and it's not too crazy. It might be early. I'm not going to say on time. It might be early. It might start early on the time that YouTube tells you it's going to start. But on time is 12:40. Okay, let's get the record straight. On time is 12:40. I might start early tomorrow. FYI. Anyways, guys, I will see you tomorrow. Have a good rest of your day. Peace out.
Today's episode was brought to you by BitcoinWell.com, a Bitcoin-only platform on a mission to enable financial independence.